When our senses are disconnected, does our experience of reality cease? Dr. David Eagleman, a Stanford University neuroscientist and a best-selling author, delves into this question in his book, The Brain, The Story of You. He argues that our brain constructs our reality, utilizing but not solely dependent on sensory data. This becomes evident, he notes, when sensory input is entirely removed, and yet our sense of reality persists, becoming even more peculiar and intricate. David shares an experience of visiting Alcatraz on a bright day in San Francisco. His destination was a specific cell known as the Hole, notorious for its use as a punishment within the already punitive environment of Alcatraz. This cell, measuring approximately 10 feet square, is engulfed in total darkness, with no light penetrating its confines and sounds utterly cut off. In this environment, one is left in complete isolation. David recounts his conversation with Robert Luke, a former inmate nicknamed Cold Blue Luke, who had endured 29 days in the hole. Luke's experience paints a vivid picture of the psychological toll of such isolation. In the pitch darkness and silence, Luke experienced intense hallucinations, such as the realistic sensation of flying a kite. This phenomenon wasn't unique to Luke. It was a common experience among those confined in solitary, where the lack of new sensory input led to the brain creating its own vivid experiences, blurring the line between imagination and perception. David uses these anecdotes to challenge conventional views of perception. Traditionally, vision is thought to be a linear process starting from the eyes and ending in the brain. However, he explains that the brain actively constructs its reality, even in the absence of sensory inputs. This process, known as the internal model, involves complex interactions between the thalamus and the visual cortex, with the brain predicting and then comparing these predictions to actual sensory data. When the external world is removed, as in the case of Luke in the hole, the brain's internal model takes over, leading to vivid sensory experiences despite the lack of real-world stimuli. David extends this concept beyond the extreme conditions of solitary confinement. He points out that experiences similar to those in the hole can be found in sensory deprivation chambers, where individuals float in darkness and silence, allowing their internal world to expand freely. Moreover, this phenomenon is not limited to such specific settings. Each night, in our dreams, we enter a kind of sensory deprivation chamber. Despite our eyes being closed and detached from real-world stimuli, we still experience a rich, colorful world in our dreams, fully immersed in its reality.